We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. I thought I'd do a Substack live tonight. I'm recording this on the 12th. This should air the 14th. The reason I'm recording it on the 12th, I need to go to a safe place, TikTok is going to its new guidelines next or tomorrow. It's already been there now by the time you hear this on the podcast mode. We are, of course, in the middle of a Substack live. And I look at Substack as kind of a safe place for me. I don't have to deal with a bunch of Trump-a-fucks. I don't have all the people hanging over your head saying, you can't say that, you shouldn't do that. Fuck that. I don't like those people that tell other people what they can and can't do. And that's kind of where we're getting with TikTok. I've been on there for about 5 years. I've said my share of stuff. I've never once been banned. I've had some videos taken down, but I've never once been banned. But what sounds like is going to happen on the 13th is that a lot of people are going to get banned. So I'm just presuming that's going to happen to me because I tend to talk some shit. When I talk the shit, though, I think it's important we talk about this thing because we can't trust our mainstream media to talk about those things that we need to hear. And that's been the problem. Everybody talks about the democratic messaging, but if the media won't put out the information, what difference does it make? So we've got to have somebody, not just me, there are other folks too, that put out good information. Black Believer of Yeshua says, aloha, I'm Mike from Hawaii. I will follow you wherever you go. Mahalo. Well, thank you very much. I'll be here. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Spotify and TikTok. I do have another TikTok account that might be saved. It's called Rational Boomer 2, TOO, and I just kind of tell stories there. I don't really go into politics. They may leave that one alone. I'm not sure. And I may do that just to use it to promote YouTube and Substack and all the others. Yeah, that's the thing. We're hearing that with TikTok, if you talk about certain things, they're going to cancel you. Well, they can bend a knee to Donald Trump, but I refuse to do that. I'm going to do what I continue to do. And when they kick me off, they kick me off. So what? I don't really care. We've got an audience here at Substack, an audience at YouTube, an audience at Spotify. I don't care if it's 10,000 or 10 people. It doesn't really matter. The point is getting the information out. Now, of course, we have the big story of Charlie Kirk being assassinated in Utah. As soon as that happened, Donald Trump and the Republicans start screaming, it's war, it's the libtards did this. And from the beginning, I never really thought that the libtards did this because that's not their style. I mean, you look back at past situations like the assassination attempt of Donald Trump, that was a Republican. That was some emotionally broken teenager that took a shot at Donald Trump. And we really don't know what that's about. That's funny. He wants to release the JFK files, the MLK files, and all that stuff, but we don't know shit about the shooter that shot at him in Butler, Pennsylvania. Why is that? Why don't we know? And why is it that he was alleged to have been hit by an AR-15 high-velocity bullet in the ear and there's no damage? To suggest there's some conspiracy theories, people might think it's crazy. But I just like to see the facts. And the question is, why don't we see the facts? I mean, we saw what a high velocity bullet does to somebody with Charlie Kirk. I mean, that was pretty devastating. I haven't seen the close-up video, but I can only imagine in the stories I've been told by people, it was pretty devastating. And there was no question that he wasn't going to make it out of this. So anyway, they keep talking and trying to push the narrative that the libtards did this. Oh, you went and done it now. You're going to lose every election. You started a war. But then they catch the guy. Well, wait a minute. They didn't actually catch the guy. The fucking guy turned himself in. Kash Patel and his buddies in the FBI didn't do jack shit. From the moment that incident happened, they were looking. They had two people ahead of that. Neither one was even close, so they had to release them. So then they go to the press conference, a 9-minute press conference. That's all they did. Kash Patel didn't even talk. And he said, look, here's some pictures. Here's a video. Here's $100,000 reward. Help us find this guy because we can't find this motherfucker. So that's out there. And when they finally caught this guy because he turned himself in, not because Kash Patel or the FBI did anything special, everybody's looking to take advantage. Well, Will says, I guess it wasn't a brown transgender Antifa soldier. No, it wasn't that. It was a heterosexual white Republican from a conservative family who has plenty of other issues. He's a Mormon. I've said this before. You know, somebody like this governor in Utah, he fucking creeps me out. This guy wanted so bad to say it was an immigrant or a brown person, but he had to step up there and say, no, it's a white Mormon guy. And I've said about this governor, he's a big time Trump humper and he's a Mormon. I said, this motherfucker's in two cults. And if I offend somebody from the Mormon religion, look, I've known plenty of Mormons in my life. I lived in a community where it was all Mormon. They were very nice people to me. But let's be honest, I'm a white guy that didn't believe what they believed, so I was looked at as pretty much dirt. They wouldn't say it to your face, but that's what they thought. Anyway, so now they got this white guy, and guess what? Nobody's talking. All of a sudden, it goes quiet. They did the same thing with the assassination attempt. Oh, it's got to be the libtards. And then, of course, it's not. It's a Republican, a Trump humper, and they don't know what to do. Now, Donald Trump is trying to suggest, well, it's the social media, the rhetoric, the violence they're spewing. Well, that's a fucking good one. Who uses social networking more than Donald Trump? He runs his whole presidency on social media, and everything he spews is violent rhetoric. So kettle black in that situation. But what was funny about this governor, his name is Spencer Cox, governor of Utah, when he couldn't blame it on some LGBTQ, transgender, Antifa immigrant person, he said, we've got to tamp this down, this violent rhetoric. You're getting people whipped up. You're getting people mad, and that's what's causing the anger. Well, I got to be honest with you. I've been on social media for a while, and it doesn't seem to me that the Democrats are the ones that are violent. It's the Republicans. So you might want to take a look around, Governor Cox, because the phone call's coming from inside the house. Not us. It's you, motherfucker. Will says, by the way, I took your advice and set up a Substack subscription service. Yeah, Will's here on this live, and he's on the podcast frequently. In fact, he was on today's podcast. He's got some great insights. He's very passionate about his stuff. So if you're out here now on this live, make sure you check with Wilfredo Rodriguez, or Will as we know him, and subscribe to his account because he'll provide some interesting and good information. You're going to see a lot more people coming to Substack. And, you know, I came to it reluctantly and I didn't really know what to expect. But then eventually I figured it out. And I really like Substack because it's a much tamer situation. Wilfredo is at Binder38 US at Substack. So check him out. And in fact, I'm going to have Will on a Substack live at some point. I think I'm going to do more of that where we have guests on the Substack live. It's me and somebody else, or maybe a couple people else. I don't know. We'll do that. I got to get used to how all that works. But the live format on TikTok always worked well. We had a panel, we had people coming in, and it was very interesting, a lot of perspectives. And we can get that here on Substack as well. So we will try that in the future. You'll probably see me doing more lives on Substack. If I'm not doing them on TikTok, I might as well do them on Substack. I can do them on YouTube too, but sometimes there's a hassle with that. I like Substack. It's simple, it's easy, and there's no crazy fucks out there. So anyway, we've got Charlie Kirk, who passed away. Ashley Babbitt, who passed away. I presume they're both in the same spot now. I think people were really upset about people like us that weren't sad enough because Charlie Kirk was murdered by one of his own because of an environment he was part of creating. Fuck around and find out. And he did. Everybody wants us to feel sorry for Charlie Kirk. Now, I'm not glad anybody was killed. I don't think that's a good thing, and I don't think that's good for this country. It puts us in a little even bigger bit of chaos. So I don't like that. But I'm not going to cry for this motherfucker. This guy openly laughed and joked about the death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, that Paul Pelosi got beat up with a hammer. He made jokes about that. So if you can do that and you can still call yourself a Christian, certainly you would appreciate us making fun of your death. Roseanne says the guy's grandma said the whole family was MAGA and into guns big time, and reporting has said that his online presence shows that he was an admirer of Nazi influencer Nick Fuentes, who despised Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I understand. There is almost like a gang or a group called the Grapers. Yeah, I don't think this kid, while he may be young and look innocent, I don't think he's an innocent guy. And while he says he's not affiliated with any political party, I can say this. There is a report that he did donate $224 to Donald Trump's last campaign. So if you want to tell me that motherfucker's a Democrat or a libtard, you're going to have a tough time selling that fucking one. Will you notify in advance when you do Substacks lives? I haven't done that much. I never even really did that on TikTok, but I will do that. If people want me to do that, do I just do a video, put it out there and say we're doing a live at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or whatever? I can do that, certainly. I'll be happy to do it. Spacer says a bunch of special elections have been going to the Democratic victories. I guess it's really a myth that voter registration doesn't translate to votes. Michelle Wu beat establishment. Joseph, hold on a second here. Josh Kraft. Yeah, people were saying that this Charlie Kirk thing was a distraction and people aren't paying attention to all the other stuff. Problem for Donald Trump is there's a lot of stuff going on and he just can't manage all of it. Charlie Kirk, everybody's saying that, oh my God, we'll talk about this forever. And his wife comes out and says, his message and his fight has only begun. It's going to get bigger. No, it's not. Charlie Kirk is like everybody else. Within a couple of weeks, we'll be on to something else, and they'll forget about Charlie Kirk because he's of no value anymore. To me, Charlie Kirk, I knew who he was, but to me, he was inconsequential. He's just one of the other Trumplafucks that are out there talking their shit. And eventually, the Trumplafucks and the whole MAGA movement is going to go by the wayside. Donald Trump isn't going to last much longer, and nobody will care about Charlie Kirk. Wilfredo says, wait until Mondani wins the NYC mayor race. The far right will go insane. Hell, the left will go insane. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I normally don't care who wins the mayoral election in New York because I don't live in New York. But this is going to send a message and set a tone. It's going to send a message to the Republican Party that's going to freak them out. But it's also going to freak out the left centrist, the Hakeem Jeffries, the Schumers, the Kathy Hochul's that won't endorse this guy. So they won't endorse him. He wins. And then what do? They got to deal with the motherfucker. And it's showing that there's a trend going the other direction. And I think we can say that's happening when we look at some of these special elections. They are starting to trend left. And that would make sense with all the problems we have in this country. It's not just Epstein. It's not just the economy, but it's inflation. It's the deportations. There's a lot of people that are just tired of the shit. I'm sorry that it took this long and to cause this much damage to get there, but it appears though we're getting there. Yeah, where is the National Guard in Utah? No weapon in Jesus' name. I said that thing on the previous podcast. Is Donald Trump going to send the National Guard into Utah? You'd think he would. I mean, his Lord and Savior, the boy king, the Son of God, gets killed there. I mean, they fly him back in Air Force Two, and that what are they going to put him in state in the Capitol for 9 days or 10 days? I don't know what they're going to do, but Charlie Kirk is nobody. People will say, well, he's got a lot of followers. Well, he does have a lot of followers, but all those followers are Trump-a-fucks. They're mouth-breathing, red meat-eating, dumb fucks. But Charlie Kirk had a lot of followers, but he was nothing more than the leader of a bunch of dumb fucks. He doesn't matter. He doesn't count. He's gone now. Thank God for that. I'm sad that it had to go this way, but there's nothing I can do about it now, so let's build a bridge and move on. Didn't Donald Trump say that to the people who are the person who was killed, to the family of the person who was killed in Butler, Pennsylvania? This tacky motherfucker said, well, I know it's tragic, but we got to get over it and move on with our life. That's what Donald Trump said. So I would say the same thing here. It's tragic. Got to get over. Build a bridge, get over it, and let's live our life. That's what I'm going to fucking do. Let's see. Fredo, when Mondani wins, I can just imagine what Trump will do on New Year's because I think the mayoral inauguration is on the New Year's celebration in Times Square. Yeah, Donald Trump is going to lose his shit, and he's going to come to the realization that he's losing ground. I think he's already believes that or understands that. Will says, Spencer, maybe we will have a huge attack and we can start the year off with a bang. Well, that's something to consider too. People suggest that he may start a war. I don't know that people are going to allow him to do that. I think even Republicans at this point aren't feeling too good about him. I saw Jen Psaki talking tonight, and she was saying that it seems like some Republicans that were concerned about Donald Trump's pushback when they go against him, they're less concerned about it now, and mainly because they're seeing a bigger pushback from the citizens of their districts. They're going to these town halls and they're getting fucking destroyed. I'm surprised it's taken this long for them to get it, but they need to understand that what Donald Trump is doing is not popular. Standing by Donald Trump is not going to get you reelected. So you're going to have to maybe push back against Donald Trump and have some courage for once and show some spine. Spacer says he'll send the National Guard into Times Square because there'll be crime quotations. And Rouser CW says, no Tennessee, and you make a good point. Donald Trump did that. He said that he was going to send the ICE people and maybe the troops into Memphis, which I think will be an interesting situation. You know what I mean? Because this is a red state, probably. I don't know if it's a red city or not. And all the red voters are saying, yeah, bring them in, it'll be great. I wonder how great it will be when they start taking away their friends and family and merchants illegally, people who are, in fact, citizens of this country. Will they still be as happy? And when you're in a red state where you can have carry laws there, it could get very ugly. Let's see here. Jillian, when I heard the news on Wednesday, I knew the right would start calling for war and bloodshed on the left before knowing anything. Sure enough, I'm correct. They're predictable. Oh, they are predictable. But here's the thing. They keep calling for war. Oh, this is the thing. You indict Donald Trump. You put him on trial. Oh, that's the end. Just wait to what's coming. And they never do anything because they're cowards. They never do anything. So when they say war, I don't listen to them. because they've said it so many times and it's just a fucking joke and they're gutless. All right, let's see. Hodiner says, maybe because I am one, I think most folks are closer to the center than not. That doesn't mean that you don't push back. MAGAs are the enemy, and I'd vote for anyone that would take them out of power. Well, if you're in the center, I'm going to tell you something. If you look back during the Depression, we had radical right shit going on and the economy went to shit. What happened right after that? We went way left because FDR came in, we got Social Security and that sort of thing. So we may make a big swing left before we ever head back to center. We'll see what happens. Roseanne says, when asked by a reporter how he felt about the violence happening in the country, he actually said he didn't care. Yeah, I heard that. Actually, I think the quote was, he was asked, what do you plan to do, or what do you think should be done to unify the country? Donald Trump said, I know this is going to get me in trouble, but I don't care. And that's exactly it. You know, we get all these Republicans talking about unity, pulling people together, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about unity. He doesn't care about people. He literally only cares about himself. So this should be no surprise to anybody except the Trumplepucks who just don't get it. Will says shut down the government on 9/30. Yeah, on September 30th, they have to come up with some plan for the budget. They probably won't come up with a budget. They'll just do another CR. And when they do the CR, they'll try to extend it as long as they can so they don't have to deal with this shit. But honestly, if the Democrats are playing hardball for once, and it looks like they might be in some cases, do not help with this situation at all. Shut the fucker down. The last time Will and I talked about this, Schumer said, we don't want to shut the country down. Bad things can happen. So we're going to help them keep it open. And that's what they did. Guess what? It's still bad. In fact, it's worse than if you shut the country down. So learn a lesson from that. And when we get to September 30th, Democrats tell the Republicans to fuck themselves. Shut the country down. How could it get much worse than it already is? Spacer says he'll try to squeeze them into Times Square, but it'll be another failure. Something they could do to mess with Trump, close off bridges and tunnels into Manhattan. Don't make it easy for them. Yeah, absolutely. Do you think he will come to any realization? Why are the Republicans still kissing up to Trump? What is he blackmailing them with? I don't know. It's hard to say what he's blackmailing or at least holding over their head. It could be as simple as primaries, but at this point, how does that fucking matter? They can't win even if they get Donald Trump's support. I don't know what it is, but Donald Trump is well known as a blackmailer, and there's enough people in the Republican Party that have some fucked up shit going on. I mean, when you hear Grindr crashing twice at the RNC convention, yeah, there's some secrets over there. Will, regarding Memphis, a predominantly black population. Yeah, you're right. He doesn't go into the white communities. He says he's not racist, but everything he does is racist. Charlie Kirk was a racist, misogynist, anti-Semite. You know, Charlie Kirk didn't have a lot of friends. Nick Fuentes and his whole group of people didn't like him. He was talking shit about Israel, and I'm guessing they did not like that. And when you look at this kid, people are trying to wonder why this Republican kid shot Charlie Kirk. And I would say there's a couple of reasons for that. And this is just my guess. You would think he would be on board with Charlie Kirk, but he is associated with Nick Fuentes, and Nick Fuentes hates Charlie Kirk. Now, I've talked about this. I've talked about this before. He's a Republican, and he, like everybody else in the Republican side, were desperate to see the Epstein files. Donald Trump promised him the Epstein files. And then when he got into office and said, nah, there's nothing here, it's a hoax, Charlie Kirk and Nick Fuentes both talked shit about Donald Trump, said he wasn't following up with his promise and really talking shit about him. But then Charlie Kirk got a phone call from Donald Trump. And then all of a sudden he goes, yeah, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Let the people in Washington handle it. He bent a knee to Donald Trump. Now, he could have pissed off Republicans one of two ways. First of all, talking shit about Donald Trump at all. You don't talk about their Lord and Savior at this point. Or the fact that he backed off the Epstein files and people that are mad at Donald Trump and are mad at anybody who wants to cover up the files. That may be reason enough for him to attempt or actually succeed in this assassination. Spacer says, I've thought about Nebraska. They buried themselves again when they voted for Trump and for Senator Deb Fischer instead of independent candidate Dan Osborne. They have another chance to vote for Dan Osborne. He's running for Senate in 2026 or the other Republican seat. We'll see. Here's the thing about the farmers and why I don't have any empathy for them. In the first term, Donald Trump fucked them really bad. Now, he did bail them out, but he still fucked up their business. There's 4 years that go by. They know he did that, and they vote for him again. So now he fucks up their business, but there's no motivation for him to bail them out this time. They got nothing for him, so why would he bail them out? And now they're screaming and crying, and they can't believe that they're going to lose their farms, and they can't feed their kids and all that stuff. And they don't understand why we're empathetic. And I'll tell you why I'm not empathetic. You should have learned a lesson the first term. In the second term, you proved you didn't learn anything. And if you don't learn after these two lessons, I can only presume that it's going to take you burning down to the ground to fucking learn what the facts and the truth are. So if that's what it takes, that's your problem, not my problem. You yelled about subsidies. You yelled about welfare. You don't like socialism. So then don't take money. We won't give you money. You had your chance. I've had a couple businesses. You make a bad choice in business, you get your ass kicked. And guess who gets to fix it? You do. I do. So the same should be said for farmers. You fucked yourself, so you need to deal with those. Brent says, amazing how close those protesters got to Trump at all. Yeah. Actually, I hadn't seen that, and Will brought that up yesterday. You got Trump and J.D. Vance and everybody standing right there, and you've got protesters very close. Security-wise, that is horrible. Will brought that up. And it's dangerous, especially with the climate of this country. There are plenty of people who don't like the Republicans, as we found out with Charlie Kirk on Wednesday. This is the problem. Donald Trump, whole administration is in chaos. It's incompetent, and things are going to go wrong. And maybe some tragic things could happen. Browser CW says, I don't want the Dems to kiss up to the Republicans. Oh, fuck, if they do, I'm done with them. Whoever sucks up or tries to work a deal and negotiate with the Republicans, you haven't learned anything either. Fuck you. I want to see you gone. I think there's a lot of Democrats that need to be gone as well. Have you heard about the California legislation to ban federal agents from wearing masks? How will that be enforced? Yeah, I did hear about that, and I think that's a good ban. That's a reasonable ban. That's a fair ban. How do they enforce it? I guess the police have to arrest people who do it. I mean, it's like in Chicago, they said if they break laws, we're going to arrest them. But my question is, I haven't heard much about Chicago lately. Donald Trump kept saying, we're coming, we're coming. Are they there yet? Because I haven't heard anything about it. And if they aren't there yet, why is Donald Trump being such a pussy? I've been saying that Trump is trying to start a war so he can call off the elections, changing the Department of Defense into the Department of War, bombing boats out of the water in foreign countries and territories. Yeah, the whole starting of a war thing doesn't cause elections to stop. We've had elections during wars before. I mean, maybe other countries do that, like Ukraine and such, but we don't do that here. Um, that's kind of a weak shot. And again, Donald Trump always fucks up. So I'm not as worried about that because I think there's a lot of people around saying, God damn it, that's too far. You're not going to start a war with Venezuela and all that stuff. That's when we may see Republicans step up because that's going to be hung right around their fucking neck. That's what's going to happen. Will says, notice how Trump defended the Russia violations of Polish airspace. Trump said it was an innocent mistake. Yeah, exactly. Donald Trump said he was going to end the war between Russia and Ukraine in 24 hours. We know how that worked out. Vladimir Putin sends drones into Poland, a NATO country. That is crazy and that is dangerous. And Vladimir Putin is doing exactly what Donald Trump does. He pushes the envelope. He pushes the envelope just to see how far he can get. I think part of it was to test Donald Trump, too. America is in NATO, but he wants Donald Trump to drop out of NATO or weaken NATO. He wants to see if he will sidle up with NATO if he does something. And if he does that, maybe that's when Vladimir Putin drops the P-tape or something like that. I don't know. But NATO took it pretty seriously, issued Article 4, which is just short of Article 5. We need to watch that and see what happens with it because that's not something people in NATO are going to let go. That's a serious offense. And it's going to be interesting to see what Vladimir Putin's going to do. But we know what Donald Trump is going to do. He's going to do exactly what he did with Israel and Hamas. Everybody thought Joe Biden was Genocide Joe and he wasn't doing enough. I told you before the election, if Donald Trump gets in, Netanyahu's his buddy, and he's just going to let him do whatever he wants. And guess what? That's exactly what's happening. And a lot of people are dying because of it, because Donald Trump is a weak-ass bitch. Spacer says he pissed off South Korea. China is already courting their ambassadors. Lutnick is threatening Korea to sign off on a tariff deal, but the Korean president is going to hold his ground and say no, he shouldn't. There are many smart and talented people in South Korea. We need them more than they need us. What MAGA doesn't understand. Yeah, that whole situation down in Georgia. Now, Will is down in Georgia. I have a place down in Savannah, right near, well, not right near, but in the vicinity of that Hyundai plant. People were excited about it. It's going to be 800 or 8,500 jobs. It'll be a lot of jobs. It's going to create a lot of money down there. But ICE and this rep down in Georgia, this Republican goofball, they fucked it up so bad. South Korea might say, yeah, we aren't doing anything here. And it's not just limited to Georgia. Their machines and all their products are in a lot of car manufacturers and a lot of things. There's LG, there's Hyundai, there's all kinds of things. And Donald Trump and this dumbass bitch and ICE fucked up this country and the people in this country for a lot of money. Billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. Some people even said it could be up over $1 trillion after it's all figured out. Nice job, Donald. You want to put your value at how much money you bring in. You just cost the country $1 trillion. Good for you, you dumb fuck. The fog of war department. Yeah, Trump sucks. I'm with you on that. Linda Roberta Hibbs says, how are you? I'm good. I'm fine. I'm not somebody who worries about stuff too much. I'm an old guy. I'm 65 years old. Everything about my life is pretty well set. Nothing's really going to change with it, and I'm comfortable. My biggest fear isn't for me. It's for my kids and my grandkids. That's why I do this. If I can do something to help out the cause between now and when we get out of this shit, I think I need to do it. And it's kind of a cathartic thing for me if I get to say some shit. I get it off my chest. And that's why this whole thing with TikTok, if they shut everybody down, I don't care. I can still come here. I can still go to Spotify. I can still go to YouTube. Fuck TikTok. Fuck Donald Trump. Linda Roberts says, Putin is a war criminal to me. Not just you, Linda, to everybody. He is a war criminal. And if he ever finds himself in peace there, he'll be run out of office, much like Benjamin Netanyahu, and probably tried in an international court. He could very well end up in jail, just as Benjamin Netanyahu could. I'm wondering if South Korea will pull back on the Hyundai plant now. They're MAGA, their own worst enemies. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what's been done. They pulled back on the plant. It sounds like they're not going to do it now. Maybe after a new administration gets in and it's safe, but they don't feel like it's safe sending their people into America to work in these plants. They had to send a plane to get their people. They had to negotiate to get them out of detention and send them back home. Yeah, I don't think they're going to do anything else. I don't think they're going to do anything else here. And that's going to cost us a lot of money. Linda says she's 64. Well, I'm 65. And when you're this age, you do what you do for your family, the younger people, because they are the future. Brent says all he cares about now is getting the ballroom done. The house is the people's house, not his personal home to rip apart and decorate with his gaudy shit. Yeah. Donald Trump has made the made the White House look like mid-century brothel, and he looks like a old, worn-out pimp with his orange face, his fake fucking hair, his big cankles, and his drooping side of his face. Did you see that picture with one side of his face was drooping? That only happens for a couple of reasons, and one of them is a stroke, and let's pray for a stroke. Spacer says South Korea is already hesitating on the deals with the U.S. The South Koreans basically said, "Figure out your crap, and then get back to it." That's exactly right. And while Donald Trump's in office, they aren't going to deal with shit. They're going to sit on this for a while. And those people that counted on having a job in that plan, that's out the fucking window because of Donald Trump. Spacer, he signed an EO saying that D.C. should only stick to Roman architecture. You got the economy going to shit. You got people at war. You're going to start a war with Venezuela. You're deporting people and putting kids in cages. You're deporting old men, old women, kids, young mothers. And and you're worried about the ballroom or some of this other bullshit. That's how unserious Donald Trump is. He's not a serious guy at all. Roseanne says, I have you both beat. I'm 78. I'm a year younger than the old man Trump. Yeah, but you seem more reasonable. You seem more sound of mind. Roseanne, congratulations to getting to 78. I only hope that I can get there too, if for no other reason than to see my grandkids grow up. Love my grandkids. I got a 5-year-old granddaughter, a 3-month-old grandson, and they're awesome. And I want to see them grow up, and I want to see them grow up in a country that's a fuck of a lot better than this one is right now. You know, for years and for decades, people have said, this is the greatest country in the world. I'm telling you right now, the way we stand with Donald Trump in office and the Republicans in charge, this isn't even in the fucking top 10 anymore. We're not the greatest country in the world. We're not among the greatest countries in the world. And that's sad because we once were. And like Donald Trump does, he fails at everything. He takes a shit on everything, and everything he touches dies. Brazil's Supreme Court voted to do the right thing. Not sure SCOTUS could have pulled it off as well. We'll see what Trump does now. Yeah, what you're talking about is Bolsonaro. He's the former leader of Brazil who was a crook, and he went to court. Donald Trump was upset about it, threatened him with tariffs and all this other shit. You better let Bolsonaro go, who was a dictator, who was a strongman, who was a piece of shit and a crook. They said, fuck yourself. So then they took him to court. He was convicted and he was sentenced to 27 years. I wonder what Donald Trump will do now. I wonder what he will say. Not much he can do about it. What, are you going to attack Brazil now, too? Spacer says Bolsonaro faces 40 years in prison. Well, he's an older guy. Whether it's 27 or 40 doesn't really make a difference. He'll die in prison, thankfully. Fred says, I won't travel to the States. Are you in Canada, Bren? Yeah, I wouldn't recommend anybody coming to the States right now. What's the fucking point? You want to go to Florida, that shithole? It's going to be nothing but a soup of disease. Yeah, no, I would agree. If anybody said to me who's living outside the United States, they want to come here to visit, I'd say wait till 2028 at least. Odino says, I think the mindset that we are the greatest country in the world led us to be complacent. Staying on top is harder than getting there. Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of the reasons we are where we are is because we've been apathetic, we've been complacent. We said, you do what you got to do. You're the government, so you must know. And by doing that, they got worse and worse and more arrogant about what they were doing, filling their pockets, getting greedy. And we are here now because we let them do it. We have to acknowledge that. Rouser CW says, I blame the people who are his oligarchs, sycophants, and followers. Oh, yeah. I mean, you think about that, what's going to happen if Donald Trump keels over on stage someplace, choking on a Big Mac and shitting himself to death. There's still going to be accountability for all the crimes and corruptions that's been committed. So all these people that feel protected by Donald Trump will no longer be protected because Donald Trump will be no more. And there's going to be some accountability. Bren says, I'm Canadian. Love Canada. You follow me on TikTok. I know you do, Bren. Well, let's see how long that lasts as far as TikTok, because they may kick my ass off. But Bren, show up here, show up at YouTube, show up at Spotify, wherever. We don't need TikTok to do what we continue to do. Bren says, one of my first followers. Well, that was a long time ago, Bren. That was fucking almost 5 years ago. I appreciate it very much. When I first got on TikTok, I didn't know if I'd get any followers. And I thought, well, at least if I get 1,000, maybe I can get people to listen to the podcast. And obviously it went better than that. But all good things have to come to an end. I don't really know what's going to happen with TikTok on the 13th, but I'm ready for anything. And I'm not going to worry about it. Shouldn't we get rid of oligarchs? Yeah, we should get rid of oligarchs, and the best way to do that is to tax the motherfuckers. Make them pay their fair share of taxes. We can get Social Security and all the safety nets funded. These people will pay a reasonable amount of taxes, and maybe they won't be oligarchs anymore because they'll be paying more fucking taxes. Spacer says, ironically, it seems our country could learn from South Korea. Aside from their own problems, they can effectively protect their democracy. Yeah, South Korea has come a long way from where it once was. It really has. It's been impressive to see. I will tell you this. I owned one of the first Hyundais. One of the first. And I will tell you, that Hyundai was a piece of shit. It was an absolutely a piece of shit. Years later, 35 years later, I now own another Hyundai. I've owned a few Hyundais, and they're great cars. At least for me, they have been. So over those years, they've come a long way with everything they're doing. And they're fairly important in the auto building industry, as we know, with the Hyundai plant in Georgia, but also with Ford and Chevy and Dodge and all of that. They've come a long way. Bren says, you're my nighttime podcast. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Linda says, I always post on TikTok. Well, just keep it non-political and you'll be able to keep posting on TikTok. Uh, and Brent says, I haven't missed any. You know how many I've done, Brent? I've done a lot of, I do them every fucking day. That's impressive, Brent. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I owe you a lot because it's people like you that allow me to keep doing what I'm doing and give me reason to do it with the listeners. So thank you very, very much. I want to tell you one other thing too. If you're TikTok followers and they banned my Rational Boomer account, I do have another account and it's not political at all. It's called Rational Boomer 2, TOO. And on that, I talk about stories of my life because I've had kind of a weird past and I've been involved in a lot of things and I like telling stories. So check out Rational Boomer 2 if you're on TikTok, because I don't think they'll take that one down. Spacer says, I get confused why people keep associating the United States with the Roman Empire because the Roman Empire fell because of oligarchs. Rome was a different time. Yeah, this is a different time. Uh, Bren says, you're the best. Thank you. You're the best, Bren. Caesar was a populist. Trump is basically Nero the emperor. In a sense, you're right. Wasn't Nero the one that fiddled while Rome burned? Kind of seems like Donald Trump is doing that now. This country is burning down. And Donald Trump is worried about ballrooms and free planes from Qatar. Now, it's funny about that Qatar thing. Israel bombed Qatar. These people who are alleged to want peace, they go bomb another country after they bomb Iran, after they bomb Gaza and all this shit. I heard something that Qatar is pissed off and maybe told Donald Trump, yeah, we want our plane back. I don't know if that's true, but that would be hilarious if that's true. And it would save us a lot of money retrofitting that motherfucker. Rouser CW says Alzheimer's. Donald Trump has Alzheimer's. Donald Trump has a lot of problems, and mentally he is diminished, to say the least. He's problematic. There's no question about that. Wasn't there a time a couple of years ago that Putin had cancer? Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing that too. I mean, that's the problem with social media. We know that mainstream media is fucked. They don't tell the truth all the time. They don't tell you things that you should know. But you got to be wary on social media too. There are people that will tell you the truth. I try to tell you the truth, but there are people that are looking for views and followers and all that shit, and they will do anything that they think can rile you up. And yes, there was a point of time where they said Putin had cancer and he only had a few weeks left. That motherfucker is still running like a cockroach, like Donald Trump. Spacer says, or maybe Trump is a pharaoh, just short of making everyone giant effigies of himself. That's why the old Egyptian empires fell. Oh, Zelensky said that. Perhaps he was lied to. Well, if Zelensky said that, I would presume he knows more than most of us, certainly more than Donald Trump. But you got to remember that Vladimir Putin is a former KGB agent. Disinformation is his specialty. So maybe he leaked something like that out for whatever reason. I don't know. I hope he keels over too. I'm not as worried about Putin as I am Donald Trump at this point. Once we get somebody better than Donald Trump, then we can worry about Putin. Hodiner says, you have said it is a MAGA tactic, but it amazes me every time I hear MAGA state that they can't believe how divided the country has gotten. Did they not hear Trump's words after the shooting? Well, exactly. You know, they're yelling at the Democrats for being violent rhetoric and starting trouble and creating the division. Donald Trump has done that since he took office in 2016. How many judges, how many people in the media, how many politicians have had to hire extra security because of what Donald Trump said? Paul Pelosi got attacked with some crazy guy with a hammer because of the things that Donald Trump has said. That's fine for you to say it to the Democrats, but at this point, you've been doing it this long. even if we are doing it, it's just desserts. Spacer says Putin is on his way out. Anyway, mortally, I mean, let's fucking hope so, for Christ's sake. I don't know that who they'd bring in would be any better than he is, but he is incredible. Credible piece of shit. Sharon says Republicans have aced projection. Yeah, they absolutely have. I mean, perfect case in point is them wanting the Epstein files released because of this Democratic pedophile cabal. Now they have a chance to expose the Democratic cabal, but they don't. And why? Because they're the fucking pedophile cabal. The Republicans are. Donald Trump, all his buddies. The country has been divided for hundreds of years. It's just more obvious since Obama was elected. Yeah, I think a lot of what we're getting from the Republicans now is retribution for having the audacity of electing a black man as president. This country is far more racist than anybody imagined, and we saw that in the last election. Kamala Harris was far better candidate than Donald Trump, but she happened to be a black woman. And people either didn't like having a woman or a black woman elected to the presidency. And when I say that, I'm not talking about Republicans, I'm talking about Democrats. Like I said on the podcast yesterday, Donald Trump won the election, but he didn't get many more votes than he did in 2020 when he lost. Kamala Harris got far less than Biden got. So where were those people who voted for Biden and they didn't vote for Kamala Harris? I mean, the fucking thing about it is you can blame the Republicans for a lot of things, but a lot of Democrats sat on their ass and allowed Donald Trump to become president. They are just as culpable in this situation as anybody. Linda says, yep, they put fake videos on here. I agree this country is racist and always has been. We clearly haven't learned a damn thing since the Civil War. Yeah, so it would seem. So it would seem. And, you know, to be honest with you, people think the racism has gotten worse now with Donald Trump, and I don't think that's true. In the 40s, 50s, 60s, everybody thought there was racism, and racism was just accepted back then. I don't care what anybody says. And then, like 80s, 90s, 2000s, white people would say, well, racism's getting better. No, it never got any better. These people weren't safe coming out and talking about it, so they hid under their rocks. Then Donald Trump comes along and says, hey, it's cool to be racist, and they all come out from under the rocks. There's been the same amount of racist people in this country all along. It's just a matter of what's accepted and if they don't feel comfortable about saying what they say. Spacer says, like, how's there nobody to replace Trump? There's nobody to replace Putin. Putin is ex-KGB, and there is no more talent like that in Russia. And it would be the time for the blast in Russia to secede, like the deep down hope to do. Large states or blasts they're called pay into Russian taxes but get nothing back. Everything goes to Moscow. Well, that's getting to be like what we're seeing here in this country. We all pay our taxes. We all pay our dues. But where's our return on investment? We're investing into this country. But if we're investing into this country like a rich person would invest into the stock market, you expect some kind of return. But the oligarchs and the wealthy people don't want you to get a return on your investment. They want to suck it all up. They're greedy motherfuckers. They're going to crush this country if they're allowed to continue to do this. And this is why the 2026 election is so important. Now, if we win in 2026 with the House and the Senate both, even if we win there, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to be accomplished. But at least we put Donald Trump in limbo, and we could spend 2 years doing investigations and hearings exposing all his bullshit. We're not going to get anything done until 2028, assuming we have the House and the Senate and the presidency. Then we can start getting things done. But to repair what Donald Trump has done is going to take a long time. We're going to have to be patient with that. Ex-KGB and states in Russia are called oblasts. I mean, okay, I wasn't aware of that. Hodiner says, I listened to the Black Man Spy podcast today. The guest there said that MAGAs should be debated with the Bible. Nothing that they are saying is in line with it. Yeah, I've seen people post things about Charlie Kirk saying he was just a good Christian family man. Well, if Charlie Kirk is Christian, nobody knows what a Christian is, and they certainly are not Christians. There are Christians. I heard somebody say this. There are two types of Christians. There are Christians that follow Jesus, and there are Christians that are white supremacists. And I tend to agree with that. Don't forget the 2025 off-year elections. These will be the test for 2026. Yeah, and it might throw a scare into the Republican Party and might put Donald Trump in a bad position. The mayoral election in New York, and there's many other off-year elections. If they all go Democrat, the Republicans are going to be fucking nervous at this point. Trump is trying to stop federal elections. Yeah, well, yeah, I've heard that too. He's trying to stop federal elections, but here's what you have to know. All elections are state. They're all controlled by the state. I'm in Minnesota. If I'm voting for president, it's all handled in state. He's going to have to go a long way to accomplish something like that. All right. If we have a supermajority in the House and the Senate in 2026, they can overcome Trump's vetoes and pass changes. Absolutely, they can. A supermajority is a lot to ask, although the Republicans are fucking up pretty good, so it's a possibility. I guess I'm not counting on that, though. What is the point of renaming the DOD to the Department of War? It's going to cost us millions. Well, Sharon, you don't know why that's important? That makes Donald Trump look tough. The guy who claimed he would be a peacetime president, no new wars. He's changing the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Donald Trump's all about perception, all about image. He has no substance, but he wants to appear tough. But in fact, he's the weakest motherfucker we've ever seen in the White House. My beloved mother, who was born in Cottonwood, Minnesota. I'm familiar with Cottonwood, small town. Linda, if you have a mom from Minnesota, you can't be all bad. Now, we got problems in Minnesota, too. Spacer says, I think a supermajority in the House is possible, but the Senate would be harder. I agree with you. If there is going to be a supermajority, it's going to be in the House. Jillian says we need a supermajority in 2026, but I won't hold my breath. No, I'm not holding my breath either. I'm just hoping we get the majority and we can at least shut things down for a while. Spacer says, Jillian, we would have to hope that the farmers don't mess up again. Nope, she was a second generation Norwegian. Yeah, you get a lot of that in Minnesota. I'm in fact part Swedish, part Norwegian, and part German, which encompasses all the different groups that came to Minnesota back in the day. Charlie Kirk said it was worth having some people die from guns every year to protect the Second Amendment. Ironic that that's how he died. Like the old saying said, he who lives by the gun dies by the gun. Yep, he fucked around and find out he was proven correct in that instance. Yeah, it's the whole thing with Charlie is ironic. The fact that, a lot of us thought, well, could it be Israel? Could have been a pro-hit? Could it be this? And a lot of things pointed to that. But when it comes down to it, surprise, surprise, it's a white kid who's heterosexual, who's a Mormon, who is a Trump humper that does the thing. The Republicans have to be just angry as shit because they really wanted to push this off as the violent Democrats pulled this off. That's what they wanted to do. And of course, now they can't. And now they're kind of quiet about things. As I've always said, Donald Trump and the Republicans, no matter what happens, you can always count on them fucking it up. They will, without question, fuck it up every goddamn time. It's ridiculous. Well, Spacer says, I have Asian ethnicities, which is why I was sad to see so many of the Asian community, a solid blue voting bloc, typically vote for Trump. I hope they learned a lesson. I would hope they learned a lesson for 2026 too. Um, Linda Roberts, Roberta Hibbs, they call it a political assassination. Charlie Kirk was an activist and he was a podcaster. He was nobody special. Certainly, he was he was murdered for political reasons. There's no question about that. But the fact that they try to make him out to be important is just silly. He's nobody. And we will forget about him in a month or so, and we'll be off on something else. Jillian says they're always quiet when they're wrong, which is always. You're absolutely right. They are not going to say it was a Dem dressed like them. Isn't that what they said on January 6th? Yeah. Yeah. So, according to Donald Trump and all the Republicans, when he pardoned all the people from January 6th, he must have pardoned a bunch of Antifa because he said that's who it was. See, that's the thing about Donald Trump and the Republicans. They'll say anything, no matter how silly, no matter how stupid, they will say it just to try to divert, distract, or delay. That's what they do. That's what they always fucking do. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. Well, we're getting to that point about an hour in, and I'm going to wrap things up for this Substack Live. I want to thank you so much for showing up and participating. That makes this so much more interesting, so much more fun for me, and I appreciate it immensely. I just pop up willy-nilly, and there you are. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. So, for those of you who have listened for the live or listened to the podcast, I thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.